and welcome. My name is Marty, and in this video we'll do an animation walkthrough of a sidewalk. We will start with a treadmill sidewalk, and then at the end we will move the character along the screen. Software we're using is Harmony 17, but anything that I'm showing here can be applied to versions above or even different softwares. I'll do a small commentary throughout the video, but most of it will be just a visual showcase of how to approach a walk like this. So let's begin. We'll start with the scene prepping with the character that we're going to be using. And in this case, we're using Maeve again. We will choose the side profile view and push the ring towards the end, just in case we need to grab something from it later. I'm going to start with creating a perspective, and despite the fact that this is a sidewalk, I would like the perspective to give a little bit of depth. So we're going to push the back leg a little further than the front leg. And we're going to do the same with the hands as well. Or the back hand, the back arm will be a little bit shorter than the front arm. We're going to establish the main pose, the main expression of the character. Because it's a sidewalk, it won't really change, especially the face, depending on the position of the contact. Also, this video is sped up, so if you want to follow it in real time, you can slow it down on YouTube. We're starting with creating two contact poses. A lot of the time I would advise sketching out the pose. However, because this is a sidewalk, you might find it necessary to sketch out something more interesting, but we're kind of focusing on the bare minimum. We're focusing on the mechanics of the walk. If you want to create something a little bit more intricate, you're very welcome to go ahead and sketch up the first two poses before you start posing. It might create a lot fancier walk, something more interesting, but we're mostly focusing on the mechanics of the walk today. I'm working on the second pose at the moment. I will not copy over the limbs because I want them to animate smoothly, so I will just make sure to pose them so they will tween really nicely and not cause any flipping or rotation, which will make it easier for me later on. As I have mentioned in previous videos, posing stage is the stage that usually takes the longest, but if you really put an effort into good posing to make sure that your character is not flipping, it will make animation a lot easier and a lot less problem solving and a lot more creative. going to add a little perspective to the head when she's taking steps, so she's swaying a little bit left to right. It's a very gentle movement, but it does add depth to the character. So now I'm going to create in-betweens and create passing poses. And I'll do that by spacing out the keys that I have created, tweening them, and then adjusting between the poses. You don't want to take a tween straight away because it will look very mechanic. To make sure that a character looks like they have weight during their walk, the best thing is to adjust the pose that you have from a tween and make sure that it looks as a standalone. It looks good as a standalone pose. Here I'm adding a little bit on the hair as well. There's going to be a tiny bit of drag when she goes up, because we're adding our up and downs. And that's why we're using the perspective lines as well, just to determine that the feet are staying on the line and they're not going up and down. I'm adding a little bit of drag to the hands as well, but I will definitely adjust this towards the end in the animation because I want to add a delay on the arms to make sure that the animation feels less mechanic. And a lot of the time adding a delay on the arms, on the hands, or on the head makes the animation feel more organic. Happy with this, and I'm going to copy it over, and now we're going to create more in between. So I'm spacing out the keys that I have. I'm going to make sure that everything is keyframed, so I will stamp and make sure that there is a keyframe stamp on it. I'm not quite sure about the timing just yet, so I want to navigate it around by adding a lot more in betweens and kind of creating from there. So I'm going to start by halving the animation that I have. And if you're never sure about your timing, that's totally okay, because you can always adjust things like this later on. If you feel like it's not sitting correctly, you can always take out in-betweens, or you can always add in-betweens. That's why it's very important to have your keys done correctly, so you can do this. I'm just making sure here that everything stays within the perspective and the feet are not sliding up or down. And we're going frame by frame and adjust the feet and the legs in here. And once the legs are done, we're moving on to the arms. Because the posing has been done quite meticulously, everything is moving the way it should be. Nothing is breaking, nothing is flipping. So those kind of adjustments are mostly aesthetic. We're making sure that the arms have a really nice swing to them, and at this stage we're already adding a little bit of hook to the movement. I'm adding this as I go, without planning ahead, without allowing for this in the keys, because I feel like I can feel this movement a little bit better when I do it more organic. I also do the straight ahead animation for the hair to make sure that it feels like there is some weight to the movement and that it's being affected by the up and down. So now that I'm satisfied with this, I will copy over the keys and I will add more in-betweens to the work. You can see that it's actually moving really fluidly, but I do want to break it up a little bit and make it feel less robotic. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Oh, I also decided that I wanted to give her a sense of urgency, so I'm going to lean her forward a little bit in that look. So going frame by frame and double checking if the feet are moving correctly and they are staying on the line. At the moment I'm working with a lot of in-betweens, but later towards the end of the video I'll decide that it's actually moving a little bit too slow, so I will take a couple of in-betweens from around the contact poses. At this stage I'm pretty happy with the movement, so I'm just working through frame by frame and making sure that no elements are breaking. I'm also adjusting the final movements on the hairs, so there is a nice delay and overlap on it. One of the final touches is making sure that the shadow is working nicely, that it's always connecting to the feet. And now I will just add a color card and make sure that there is a background when I render it. So I'm happy with the walk, and now I will proceed to copy it into a form of a loop to make sure that the character can now walk off the screen. And the loop will be the same, and we will make the movement of her walking off the screen on the top peg that is designated specifically for the left to right movement. What I need to do in here is make sure that the feet contact is working. So I will take each contact pose and move the top peg where the transition is happening to make sure that the feet are meeting in the same point. It's a bit of a meticulous job, and you have to go back and forth between frames, but it's worth making sure that it aligns correctly. So we're going to tween the poses, and now you can see that the character is moving across the screen. She's sliding a little bit, but we're going to fix that in a second. So we're going to put the tween on twos. Now that the positions are working, what we're going to do is go frame by frame and adjust the feet. They shouldn't slide too much if we've done the treadmill walk correctly. But because I have taken out some of the poses towards the end when I was assessing the loop, it might slide a little bit, especially if you see the first contact poses of the feet. So you never can get away with creating a walk that will fit perfectly if you're working on a treadmill walk. But because the level of the feet has been adjusted during the treadmill section, all you have to do is just make sure that the toes and the heel is working correctly and is staying in the same position. And you can do that with onion skin. I prefer to adjust the full leg rather than just the feet because the skewing is less noticeable then. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. So let's summarize all the steps we took to get to this point. We started with creating contact poses. I've added a perspective to make sure that it's not feeling flat, to add a little bit of depth to the look. When I was happy with the contact poses, I've spread them out, tweened them, and created passing poses. You always have to adjust the product that you get from tweening because otherwise it's going to look very mechanical. So just to illustrate to you how it looked like when it was just tweened. This is before and this is after. And that's the form of adjustment we've made. We've added up and down as well and determined how far she's going to go up and down in the walk. Now we've spread out the keys that we had, so the contacts and the passing poses, and we added more in betweens. And this is to show you how it looked like straight after tweening, and this is the comparison of how it was after we've adjusted them. And after getting the initial poses, all we had to do is make sure that everything works and flows correctly, which you can watch back in the longer extended version. And this is the result that we have. And this is it. That's how you create a sidewalk for a rigged character. I hope this video was helpful in working on your sidewalks. See you next time!